Hello, Ignite Online. Welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be speaking on soul ties, which is what's going on in our iGroup sessions, and surrender, which I think is a great topic to go over. Uh, so, what do you think?
I think it's an awesome topic that everybody can relate to, and it is for everybody. It's what do you call it? Universal.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking about on the way over here. I was thinking about surrender, and in regards to like AA. And I remember, in AA, you always talk about your bottom. Like, what was your bottom? Like, what was the one thing that broke you to make you decide to go sober?
Mhm.
And I was comparing that in my mind to surrender, because there comes a point where you get to this spot where you need to surrender, where that or whatever you're doing isn't working anymore, and you realize that I need to surrender. I need to give it up to God and let God fix this because I'm not doing the job. So I was thinking about that, and like everybody's level, everybody's place of surrender is different from somebody else's. Like everyone's bottom is different from somebody else's. Like going to prison,
When
like
Robert says bottom, he means like when you hit rock
rock
bottom.
bottom. Yes. So somebody's rock bottom. Mine was being sentenced at prison. That was my rock bottom. That was the spot where I was like, I have totally failed at life. And what do I need to fix this? What do I need to do? And I started praying. Now that wasn't quite my moment of surrender. I think it takes a little bit more. Uh you find your faith, but there comes a point where you have to give up. Um uh give up the desire to try to fix things yourself and let God fix it for you. And I kind of think that's where surrender comes in.
That's definitely where surrender comes in, and it's actually not only allowing God to fix it for you, but it's literally moving out of the way, completely moving out of the way. Now, the surrender that Robert's talking about is like first, what is it called when you narrate, like first person? That's the
Yes.
surrender he's talking about. There's a lot of surrenders, and there's surrenders where you're like, God, I don't want and I'm talking about myself because I know there's a lot of people that struggle with this. I do, and Robert does too. Um, Things that are really already out of your hands. Your adult children, okay? Your adult children, your brothers. It could be your father, it could be your mother, it could be your boyfriend, your fiance, your wife, your husband, and you literally will have, and that's so, what is that, third person? Because you literally have to move out of the way and say,
Okay.
God, they're in your hands.
That's good.
They're in your hands. The Bible says, in the womb, right? So when he's talking about in the womb, he was already, they're already, they were already, slow down, coffee. They were already in his hands from the womb, right?
Yes.
So as of that moment, anything that happens is not on you as a parent, as an adult parent. It's hard. Let me tell you that it's hard. It's hard. You want them to make all the right decisions. You want them to stay safe with their decisions. It's not up to you. And
Yeah.
that's a different surrender. It's not a surrender where, God, I give you my addiction. God, I give you my fear. God, I give you my anxiety. God, I give you this
That's
and
good.
that. No, it's a surrender where you're like, I give you my anxiety, and here are my children. And that is also a lot to say for the people that don't want to send the kids to school because of everything going on with school children.
But it's not just that. I mean, it's giving up that sense of power that you think you have, and saying, you know what? I know that I'm powerless. I know that what I want my children to do is actually out of my control. They're going to do what they want to do. They're going
Mhm.
to do what's in them to do. And it's not up to you to say what they are going to become,
No.
how they're going to act as adults, uh, the
And
decisions they're going to make. It's not up to you anymore.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. Is like really, really fearful for even when it comes to children for the stuff that's going on in school. And I know I pray about it. I don't have children in school right now, but I will be having grandchildren soon in school again. And it doesn't even matter. Um, those dangers are everywhere. It could happen at the theater because it has happened there before. But it's not for me to worry about. It could happen.
Because it could happen
What
anyway.
if it happens? All the what ifs out the
Yeah,
window. When you surrender to God, they gotta go. They gotta
the
go.
what ifs. Yes.
And I know that's easier said than done for a lot of people, but the worry is not is sadly. I'm sorry if this is offensive to anybody. I don't mean it that way. I just know for a fact in my case and in my family, the what ifs are lack of trust. There's a lack of trust.
Yeah, I mean you're right. There is a lack of trust in God
And every
when you
day,
have worry. I have a lot of anxiety. I don't take that. I don't necessarily say that's a lack of trust, but I see what's going on around me, and I worry. Am I doing enough? Um, is what I'm doing enough to fix to resolve this situation? Am I going to make enough? Am I gonna do enough for all of this to work out at the end?
okay, now you're mixing up. Sorry, I'm not trying to preach. um, that has to do with a lot of like the a little bit of the trust, and the other one is the identity.
Yeah.
You were enough. You were enough
Yes.
to die on the cross for. You're enough.
And that's
Anyway, this
and
is
that
a thing also, guys, I gotta tell y'all because this is a thing between me and my husband. Like we will have to remind ourselves some stuff that we came from and some stuff that was culture and some stuff that we grew up with and some beliefs that our parents literally said this is how it is, and sometimes it takes
yeah.
us a minute to go back to the word and
Yeah,
to
it
be like
does.
that's not what it is,
Because
this is what it is.
my whole life I spent my identity was uh what do I bring to the table? What do I bring to the table in my family? What do I bring to the table in my relationship? Like what what is my worth was based on how much I show up with,
Yeah,
how
that's
much I provide. So
culture, right?
culture. And that was a big thing for my dad. Um, you do what you need to do at home, you provide. So that's always a battle for me. And to surrender and say, you know what, I'm not gonna have anxiety over if we're gonna make it, because we're gonna make it, because
We've always
we've
made it and
always
just
made it
never
and God's
lacked.
always there. And w- we're never lacking. I do my part already, and I don't need to worry if I'm doing enough. I'm doing my part. And
It is a form of surrender, right? An everyday surrender.
yes.
Just the same way that we have spoke about forgiveness, how I have to forgive Robert every day. Sometimes I have to currently forgive him in the morning again because yesterday, he said something. He's human and I'm human. Trust me, I have my flaws. I have still a lot of flaws I'm working on. And every day it's another surrender.
Yes.
I have to surrender sometimes my authoritative side.
Mm,
I have to surrender my authoritative side. It can't always be my way and it can't always be Rob's way. It goes for both of us. It goes for all of us. It's a different wake up in the morning and surrender. And that with that surrender comes the forgiveness part too.
yes.
Because within that it's like, okay guys, I surrender this, and I also have to surrender. One of the surrenders is pride. I have to forgive that person from yesterday, from just yesterday,
Yeah.
every day.
Every day.
It's also a lifestyle, just like forgiveness is a lifestyle. Surrender as a Christian and as an addict,
Yes.
it's a lifestyle. It has to be. Absolutely.
That's very good. And then for those of you who watch only online, you don't get a chance to really watch. You don't get a chance at all to see our I groups. Our I groups are fabulous. Pastor gets into the word, breaks it down into a Bible study that's For those of you who don't come, please come. It's in English. It's bilingual in English and in Spanish, and it's a great way to learn the word. And learning the word is very important. Trust me, from somebody who used to love to argue with Christians, that you need the knowledge. Faith is great, but you need the knowledge. You need to know where in the word to look. You need to be able to. I'm not saying you need to be able to quote chapter and verse, but you do need to say the word says and speak uh, intelligently on the word. I think that's important to every Christian. I think you should be able to do that to some extent. We've been talking about soul ties, and soul ties. Um, I have a hard time explaining soul ties sometimes. Um,
Soul ties can be um, a person in your past that doesn't belong in your life. It could be a gift from a person in the past that doesn't belong in your life. Soul ties can mean, um, they basically can also mean all the strongholds.
Strongholds, and
Soul
there are
ties are basically pretty much the same, but not, because there is something. What am I trying to say? There's like
a connection.
anything that n- that holds you in your future to do the things like surrender, and at the same time,
Yeah.
not just forgiveness is in surrender, but soul ties is a form of surrender that you have to do with the bad ones. And pastor says there's good ones too.
Yeah, there's soul ties. Like
He's my soul.
yes.
He's my soul mate and and a good soul tie, because when I something I said wrong, or something that I'm not, you know, that today I'm lacking, or my flaws come out, he's supposed to be the one that tells me, maybe you didn't say it this way,
But we
and
make a covenant with
mhm,
each other, and that is our soul tie. We made a covenant to each other,
mhm,
um, and that is our soul tie to each other, and that's a positive soul
soul tie.
tie. But you do have negative soul ties, and there are. Um, let's get real. There are people that that you have that you have had sex that a person has had sex with in the past,
Mhm,
and that is a soul tie that you have. That is a connection to somebody that is not um, that is not a positive godly thing in your life, and you have to let go of those things.
mhm.
And it
On everything that comes with it, pastor talked about gifts,
yes.
jewelry, sweaters, t-shirts, colognes, perfumes. He's talking about some really good stuff. I It's really getting really interesting, and our parking lot is overfilled.
Yeah, it is really full. I mean, when you pull up here, you're like, wow,
But
it's
we will make space for
no, no,
anybody who
we
wants
do
to.
make
We're
space.
gonna make space. Yeah.
But to see so many people wanting to engage in the word and want to learn the word, you
I
know.
love that we have the youth in there. Pastor Gilbert has brought the youth in there. Pastor wanted them in there, and I think it's a good thing because they're being prepared. I group prepares us as adults, but they're gonna prepare them. They're gonna go in relationships with their eyes open and know and get to say, like, I know what this is.
But you know,
They can identify, I know what that is,
yeah, because you don't realize. All right, so when I was young, a young man, you know, you're trying to
do what you think you're supposed to do as a
as a
man.
man, and I was talking to this
Not
girl and that girl,
depending.
and chasing around fleshly desires of the flesh.
Hmm.
But the thing was, you don't understand, and nobody explains to you that a piece of that person, you're connecting a
Hmm.
piece of that person to you. You're making a soul tie with that person, and a piece of that person carries along with you.
Hmm.
And until you understand what that is and learn how to break that soul tie, you have a connection to that person, a memory, a scent in regards to cologne, a shirt that maybe reminds you of that person, but even just the strong memory of what happened
Here's
is
a
a
really
soul tie.
here's a really strong one that you can't sometimes avoid. Um, a song,
A song, music is very
a
powerful.
holiday,
Yes.
even a holiday song. Who knows? Maybe even a Christian song. And it doesn't mean that you have to let go of that Christian song. You just have to let go. That's where the surrender comes in.
You let go of that
That's where the
connection.
forgiveness comes in, forgiving yourself too. And that's where you let go of that
Yeah.
connection.
And that's so important,
And that's where it gets rough. Something that you can avoid. Now you can avoid a station and you can avoid certain songs. But what if you walk into HEB or you walk into any I don't know, elevator, anything that has like a music that just has it on.
Yeah. And
And it's out of your
and
control.
if you don't surrender that tie, it just stays with you. I remember me and Pastor were talking about music, and I was telling him I'm very transparent, and I'm like, I still listen to worldly music on a daily basis. I said some days it's just a country day, and some days it's a gangster rap day. I said I can't help it. It's just something I still battle with. So it's just something I haven't released yet. But I did have to release certain music, and the funny thing is, it's not rap music. It's country songs that take me to a place emotionally, um, that I didn't realize it was taking me to a negative place. I thought, it's country music, it's safe, but um, one day I was cooking, I had just gotten home, and I remember cooking, and when I would cook, I would put on certain music, and I put on a certain song that I would always put on when I would cook, and to see the emotion coming out of Nadine, like the fear. Um, she was scared. She was worried. She was tearing up because I'm cooking and listening to a song. And I realized that music was, what's the word they use now? Triggering. It was triggering for her, but I didn't realize that was a soul tie for me. Those songs put me in a place mentally that is
That put me
unhealthy.
in a place mentally because I
Why,
was
yes.
watching him put himself in a place mentally. And we're talking about when we were in the world, but he's talking about like something that he still tried to do. When it put
Now,
us in that place back then, it was trying to put him in a place now.
yes.
And not now like yesterday, but a while back.
And I didn't realize that it would do that. I didn't realize until I thought about it that yes, every time I listened to that song, I got put into a certain mood, a depressed, kind of angry state of being. And certain songs will do that to you. Certain songs remind you of something negative or something painful, and it will take you there emotionally and put you there.
Yeah, especially if you're young. Guys, pay attention to what you're listening to, please. Pay attention to what the words are coming out of those. The lyrics are right there. They're online. Look them up. And I know y'all do. I know we do. We all do it. And we look them up. Pay attention to the words that they're saying. Those words are going to affect you. If you're going through something right now and you're listening to those songs, those words are going to affect you like they have Rob. And for a song to put you in a place like that
Yes.
makes me wonder what that song was intended for.
Yeah, I mean, because let's face it.
Now, we all know not only country music is sad sometimes, we all know this and that, but when it totally puts you, and you're supposedly like at that moment, like we have had good marriage times in our past, like without God in our world, like it wasn't always just all dark, right?
No, it
But what
wasn't
I'm saying is like
daily battle.
when it was a good day, this song would do that to him and tell him something else.
Yeah, it would put me in an
Yeah, it
angry,
basically
depressed mood,
it sounds like
and
a lie because it's a
it
lie,
is a
right?
lie. And what Pastor always reminds us is that the enemy was a musician. The enemy,
Mhm.
music, all music comes from God, but the enemy was about music. That's what he did. He played music. So you have to remember when you're singing something, where is it coming from? Is it coming from a positive place, or is it coming from a negative place? Does it take you to a positive place, or does it take you
And
to a negative place?
is it coming from your heart when you're singing it? Because you don't have to sing it the way they sing it, right? As in, is coming from your heart the way when you're singing it, or is it coming from the author's heart or the
Very good.
singer's heart? Like, you have to be careful. Like, I know that you and Mark talked about it, and he says, well, maybe she's in a season. For me, like, if I, because I don't want to listen to other music except worship music, right? But I think we've talked about this, me and you, I mean, privately.
Yes.
It's not because, oh, that's worldly music and no, I can't do it. No, it's not a religious thing at all. If Robert has something on, or somebody at the store or somebody's house has something on, it's not gonna phase me like that. But when I choose to put it
No,
on,
you don't go running out of the store with your ears covered.
no. When somebody puts it on, it's but when I choose to put something on, and I guess what I'm trying to say is it's also a lifestyle for me, because music has always been a big part of my life
Yes.
from, I don't know, birth. I was born into also musician family, family of musicians, and music family. When I like to call it
Musical.
musical. Both my grandfathers, they
Yes.
have both played in bars. They have both played in
In
church.
church.
They have both done the cheating country everything stuff, and they have both played and even serenaded for their wives,
Yeah.
Mother's Days and stuff like that. They have both taught us, hey, sit right here, stand right here. Okay, now you sing first and you sing second. Ready? Okay, now let's try it in this note. Now let's try it in this note. Like some good education,
Yeah.
music education, and my uncles too, and now my brothers, me and my brothers, when Walter was 5 years old, I remember him swinging his feet, watching me and my brothers be the youth service worship band.
Yeah.
And one day we will be again. That was prophesied to me. So Walter's up there. I need 3 more.
And then
Yeah, it also, like, I choose that because also I don't know how some people wake up, but I wake up with a new song literally in my head.
yeah.
Like if it was going on in my dream, or if I was just singing it last night and I wasn't. And I wake up with a new song, and it used to be I used to hear either accordions, uh, fiddles. Is that what it is? Violin
Violin. Yeah.
and tubas.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you have banda music going on up there. But
and
now
now I
it's
hear
now it's
now I
worship
work
music.
up with the worship song, and I know that is not only coming from me, or could be coming from the back of my mind too, but there's songs that we haven't sang for worship in a long time, and they come out of my head in the morning, like I have it already. I start singing it, out loud, but sometimes I get that extra
Yeah.
bonus, and it's a Spanish song, and I love to worship in Spanish. And and I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? Yeah, thank you, God.
But the soul ties I was thinking of too are like when it comes to music is I think of these young people who don't even speak Spanish, but they're singing songs by Peso Pluma or who's that other guy? I'm not good at these names.
Bad Bunny.
Yeah, and you're singing these songs because they're catchy and they're new and you learn the words. I sing in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. Like I remember singing songs in bars and I didn't know what I was saying. And I wonder how many of these kids today who don't speak Spanish are
Don't know
running
what they're
around,
saying.
don't even know what they're saying, don't even understand like the words that are coming out of their mouths, that they're putting themselves in a connection with that song that they're not even aware of, And I think,
It's sad.
like you said, it's important to find out, what am I saying? What are these words? And is it something that I want to embrace in my life? I'm not trying to tell everybody that you have to only listen to Christian music. I'm trying to tell you to be aware of what you're saying. Because for
Could
one,
be a soul tie,
it could be a soul tie. Yeah.
and you might
And
have to surrender it.
it's not just, it's music, it's movies, it's clothing. How many how many times do you wear something that you're not even aware? I remember somebody wearing a t-shirt one day that was from a TV show. And I'm like, do you watch that TV show? And they're like, no. I'm like, yeah, I can tell because you're at church with a T-shirt that's in the TV show. That's a strip club. In this TV show, he was wearing
Oh yeah, he didn't know.
he was wearing a Sopranos T-shirt, and he didn't know, wasn't aware of what he was wearing.
Yeah, I don't
So,
think he even spoke English. I don't think he's not. Yeah, no, no.
but you don't know what you don't. You
Also,
make sure you know what you're putting on yourself.
not trying to give worldly songs or secular songs or country songs or whatever you call them, I or whatever we call them. I don't want to give it. I'm not trying to give it power.
No,
It doesn't have power in my life anymore.
no,
It doesn't have power in my life anymore. It doesn't. Um, I should be always setting an example, not only to my adult children and my family, but to, you know, as a worship leader, as a leader in the church, we should be setting an
an
example.
example. Yes.
So I do have to be careful, but I'm not going to give it power, because
No,
the more you give it power, it's just like,
you're giving it the strength to
and the one thing I'm
control.
not going to do is not going to give it power. It doesn't have that power over us
But I think
anymore.
that's what breaking a soul tie is about.
Hmm.
Taking the power away
Away
from
from
it.
it.
Um, but also don't dwell there either. If you know a certain song has put you in a mood before,
Don't
don't
play with
don't play
fire.
with don't play with fire. You know that it takes you somewhere. Don't listen to it. Don't We're not trying to say give it power, but we're trying to say avoid a situation. Put up boundaries. And that's all we're saying. Putting up boundaries.
And all you're doing is caring for yourself. You're just caring for yourself, your mind, body, and soul. You're just caring and taking care of yourself, which is a temple of God. Don't want to make it too religious, but it is temple of God.
Yes.
You have surrendered your body, your ways, your every day. If you're gonna do it every day, tell yourself you're gonna do it every day.
Yes.
What do I have to do? What do I have to change? And there's always room for improvement. Always, 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 no matter who you are, room for improvement.
You know what? I just realized too. One of the hardest, not the hardest, but something that would bring me back to something worldly was a soul tie. And I didn't realize it was at the time. Now that we're going over soul ties, I understand what the connection was. But barbecuing always had to do with drinking.
Mm.
Uh, my dad used to say, when you strike that match, I don't care if it's 10 in the morning or 10 at night, that's when you crack that beer. Like you throw a match, you crack a beer, you enjoy, and you drink while you're barbecuing. And I had to go get like a lemonade or something because I felt so like I needed, at that moment, my body wanted something that I didn't even do anymore. I quit drinking. But as soon as I lit a match, I was like super thirsty. I wanted, and to realize that connection, which I thought was cute or
Isn't
funny
that
when I was
weird? That's
young,
culture, yeah.
uh,
And also, what is it called when it's from your family?
tradition.
Tradition and culture.
And it
Like,
was just something,
you have to be careful. Well, you
he
thought it was cute and it wasn't,
it
right?
wasn't. And to realize that, oh, okay, I need to alter this because one has to go with the other, but it doesn't have to. I need to break that. I need to break that chain, that habit, that tradition, and start a healthier tradition. Um,
Also, like we have showed our children when they were little, when they were younger, we have showed them things and they thought that that was the way. And trust me, we struggle today trying to convince them otherwise or tell them otherwise. Now we can only do so much where we have to surrender again, and then God do something. I know I did this and this and that. Forgive me. If I have to ask for my daughter or my son or my daughter's forgiveness again, I will. I have to. I have to. Like sometimes it feels like something that comes from them,
yeah,
and I will keep saying I'm sorry for the same thing if I have to. Anything to help them heal, but I'm not the one that can heal them. I can help,
yeah.
right? Nothing
You got
says
to
I
do
can
your
help,
part.
and I still have to be careful with what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I can help and do my part, like you said, but I still have to move out of the way. That's not going to be it. I have to move out of the way, and they also have to surrender.
Yeah.
I can't force them to surrender. God won't force them to surrender. It's just like you have to pray about it. I have even fasted about it. We've fasted before
Yes.
about it. And you do what you have to do from the control that you in actually or in reality really have. Like not
You
that
the
fake
control over
control that your
yourself.
mind tells you you have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the control over
And it's
yourself.
really tricky, especially for dads with their sons and mothers with their daughters, or however you bond with your kids. Like it's really, it could be rough.
Yeah, and it's and teaching each other, helping each other. Say, hey, you know what? I speak better to this child. Our connection goes a little different, and I'm able to speak to her in a way that doesn't create um, resentment. Or you, and then this child you speak better with, and figuring out a way to communicate with your children in a healthy way, can you communicate with other family members in a healthy ways is very important. Um,
Because they can always, as adults, like we're adults, when we wanted and when we were in our 20s, oh my God, nobody can tell us anything what
anything.
to do. It was either okay, thank you, or it's none of your business. And sorry, but that's the reality. And our children today, our adult children today, they can tell us if they wanted to
Yeah.
that it was none of our business. They haven't, and I thank God for that. Because we're trying to come from another way. We're
Yes.
trying to come from another angle, an angle that is okay with the Lord, and another angle that is okay with God. And when we can't do it, we can always have Walter
Or
talk
somebody
to
else.
them,
Yeah.
my mom, the pastors. They have gone to the pastors on their own, and I'm really really grateful for that. I'm grateful for our pastors. They're great pastors, and when they have to go or vouch or connect with your adult children, and it doesn't involve you, that doesn't mean you have to get in. And
No.
for a reason, it doesn't involve you.
Yeah.
And
But that's surrender.
I
That's giving
love
up
that they
the
can go to
power.
our pastors and that they do on their own.
Yes.
I think it's great. I think I just want to encourage the young adults of our church and my children to continue doing it. You don't have to go to mom and dad, and you don't always have to go to grandma and grandpa. Sometimes it's better that you don't. You can go. We have told them that they couldn't in the past go to Sister Gloria. They have gone to Sister Gloria.
Yes.
They have gone to, I think, to Roland, and I know that Christian and Kathiria have talked to some of them and have brought things up to them. And I appreciate all of that.
Yeah,
Now, it's for anybody in the world to be like, "What are you? Why is he
but
talking to my child?
those
That's
are
none of your
positive soul
business."
ties.
No, yeah,
Our children now have a positive soul tie to our pastors, and they have a positive soul tie to brothers and sisters of the church who are authority figures in the church, but who have an emotional connection now to our children. And those are that goes back to soul ties, because that's a positive soul tie. That is somebody who you can speak with. That is somebody you have a connection with in a positive, godly way, in a way that brings glory to God. When you speak to them about your problems, when you speak to somebody who loves and cares about you, um, who loves and cares about your spirit, who loves and cares about your relationship with God and your walk with God, and to speak to them and have somebody give you that positive feedback, or a feedback from, hey, you're not in the walk the way you need to be, and let's go ahead and redirect you to where you should be. I think that's great. um
also, Adriana and Chef Manny has also like
yes.
spoken to our daughters, our sons. Like they reach out to them. I appreciate all that. Our support group in our church is the best thing that's ever happened to our family.
But
It's the best thing that has ever happened to our family besides Christ and besides
yes.
God, of course. Now, here's the best person you can go to is quiet time, your private time with God, private time with the
Yes.
Holy Spirit. Start praying, ask Him for some answers, ask Him to reveal those answers to you, and, you know, to give you some guidance, and He'll do it.
But church, church, it's to remember also that church is not a place. Church is not the building. Well, it
Mm-hmm.
very much is, but it also isn't. It's that community you have, and it's creating. a family that is supportive of your faith, is supportive of your walk with Christ, and will help remind you of who you are now, your identity now, which is very important because a lot of people who are in rehab, who are in sobriety, who are in changing their lives, they have a hard time letting go of those connections that they used to have, the friends they used to hang out with, the family members that they used to hang out with and do negative things. Now that they've changed, it's very difficult to give up those relationships. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying you have to say, "Oh, I'm never going to see that person again," but to build up positive boundaries to keep those people um
Excuse me.
not in your life, in the forefront of your life, to have a negative impact in that walk you're taking now. I think it's important. These are such great topics. They're such great topics. I think they're going to overflow into next month as well
Yeah, I hope
because
so.
there's
And
so much going on right now.
yeah, and Robert spoke earlier, and he's just trying like to be modest and trying to keep it also clean. But he said when I was a young man, and it's not just when he was a young man; it's also when I was not a young woman. Um, During our marriage, we both had infidelity, and that was another point that I wanted to talk about. Is that I went home and Wednesdays, 2 Wednesdays out of the month, when Robert has to work nights, so he can't make it to those Wednesdays. Well, one of those Wednesdays, Pastor was talking about um, the soul ties of infidelity, or just um, sexual soul ties, soul ties, anything, even just a relationship, even if without sex, that's a soul tie, and that wasn't pleasing to God. And so Pastor had us all say a prayer, and everybody repeats the prayers when Pastor does it. And I'm glad they do, because maybe they're missing something, maybe they forgot something, maybe, you know what I mean.
Yes.
And so I love one thing about our church. It's that everybody repeats. Well,
Yes.
everybody that I can hear, it sounds like everybody. I'm not looking around, but it sounds like, and Pastor had us all release the soul ties, the sexual soul ties in our past. And it was something that I had never thought about doing. Like, I have literally, I think I shared with Gabby and with Pastora, I have literally put my phone here with my husband in an island.
Yes.
And then him sitting on one side of the island and I sitting on this side of the island. And sometimes called and apologized to people in my past who I had played with their hearts, with their lives. And coming from someone like me, sometimes that would have been hard. With Christ, I wouldn't have done that.
No.
I mean, without Christ, I wouldn't have done that. And I only did it because I felt that conviction to do so.
Yes.
And I didn't want to do it wrong. So he was there. And, he heard some of these conversations where I apologized. And I'm not ashamed of it, of sharing it right now, because that's not who I am anymore. That's not who I am. But the hurt was real,
Yes.
and my bad intentions were real. And so I had to kind of pretty much repent and apologize,
Yes.
and then whether or not they forgave me, well, I already did my part, right? And so they could decide to do their part, and they don't have to tell me either, right? So then we did that. But that's the only thing that I have thought about doing. Never in my life have I heard from another church, read, maybe I'm reading the wrong stuff, I don't know, but I've never heard of releasing in prayer your soul ties. And it was very powerful to me, and that's why I wanted to share it. Not because I wanted to start gossip or anything like
Yeah.
crazy. um this is real stuff, guys. This is real stuff. Whether we know it or not, um there have been people from our past that maybe it shouldn't have been that way, and maybe you've already asked God for forgiveness and God has already forgiven you. If you ask God for forgiveness, he has forgiven you. But I really think that this is an awesome thing to do for yourself. For
Yes.
yourself. For
Yes.
yourself. You have to release those people just the same way that you would somebody who has hurt you in your past, that you forgive. in a sense, because Pastor talked about surrender yesterday, and he kept saying it, and and I could still hear it in my head. You have to release them,
Yeah.
and forgiving them releases them. Let them go. You
Yeah.
basically, I like to, this is what I pictured in my head, because I will picture some stuff. This is a little cage, and there are people in there,
Yeah.
and you have them in there locked up. They don't know that.
No, they
They
don't.
don't know that. And they might have you in there too. And they're locked up, and there are gifts in there from other people. There are songs in there, like we talked about. There are people in there. There are places. There's stuff that, that you're still holding on to from the past. You got to let that go. That gets heavier and heavier the more that is in there. Just like Pastor talks about with baggage. And then you get
Yes.
this other baggage. No, no. Um, yeah, it's hard to
Well,
move
like
from
my
that.
mom,
You have to
my
release it.
my mom on Sunday asked me, she's like, "So, how do I like what does she do to forgive all these people? The people that she's carrying on."
Oh,
Uh
she asked you?
she did. And I said, "Mom, you don't have to, this isn't about them. It's about you. You need to forgive them for you. It doesn't mean you call up somebody. Sometimes you have to, but most of the time
You'll know. You'll
you
feel
just have to
connection.
forgive them. Most people aren't even aware
Mm-mm.
that you need to forgive them. Some people, like, you call them up and they're like, "Hey, I forgive you." Forgive me for what? You might be offending them at that point, but to forgive them in your heart and in your soul, in your mind, let that go. Let that anger
Yeah. Open
go
that little
and
cage and
release it.
release them.
I think this has been a great conversation. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed giving this truth to others. I enjoy um, these moments where we spread the word and we do our work for God. It means a lot to me.
I want to be like Oprah. I release you. I release you. Release for you. Release for you.
Yes. Thank you for watching. Be blessed.